Hi all! Time to pull some strings today. So here you can see the materials that I'm going to use. Nothing fancy, nothing you've never seen before me using. So my Athena acrylic paints, and today this is a black, a green, and it's an olive green, a white, my gold color, float roll of course to stretch my colors, some glitters, my silicone, a torch, some sticks to stir the paint around, some cups, as you need the cups, and a roll of strings. Or a string, how do you call it? Yeah, that's all the stuff that I'm going to use. I'm mixing my paints as usual, adding some float roll, some water and some silicone, and I go for it. For this project I want to try a 30 by 60 centimeter canvas, and I want to create a somewhat, well, let's say dark foresty background, so a bit kind of dark with green and a bit of gold, like sunlight showing through color. In a way, in my imagination at least, and then put some flowers in the foreground, which I'm going to create with the string method, which I've never tried before, but I've seen it done on other videos. So I wanted to test it, how it works, if I like the result, if it works as I intended to work for myself, and if the result is going to end up being pretty after all. So let's see how the result is going to be. When I first started, I usually do a somewhat background base layer. I mostly do this in larger canvases just to have a somewhat cover in case the paint is running thin in certain areas or there is no paint at all from the pour. So just to have a somewhat backup for myself. So I just used all the colors that I've mixed, made a somewhat background on the canvas, and I then started pouring all the colors that I'm going to use for my dirty pour into my pouring cup. And that is basically all the colors that I have mixed, layered up in the cup, and then just poured onto the canvas. Basically I wanted to create somewhat the same effect that I normally get when I do my gold, black and white pours. And as I cannot really explain what I mean, I'm just pop up a small picture of what I meant here in the corner. And this was basically the look that I was going for. But as you can see here, it really did turn out exactly the wrong direction. It is totally chaotic and not as calm as I wanted it to have. And this one, although it has some kind of marbling effect, it is not really a fitting background for the flowers that I was going to add. So I just decided to swipe over it and see what actually happens to it, if I can achieve the look that I intended, because I was not yet at a point that I wanted to decide to scrape it off. Because there's so much color onto it, I wanted to play a bit around if I can achieve the look that I wanted. For the swipe I used the Yupo paper, which I normally do, because this one can be reused. If you do not know what Yupo paper is, it is just some kind of paper which is waterproof and some in a way plastic paper, so you can clean it off and it is perfectly fine again. You can put it in water, it doesn't soak water into it. It is a nice surface to use to swipe. You can also use whatever paper you would like to have, just something to not apply any pressure, and you can get a more even swipe than when you're going to use a palette knife or such, because you always wobble when you have a palette knife, and with a sheet of paper you can just drag it over and it's fine. So once done, I torched it to bring up some cells, and this more or less had a look that I was going for. So somewhat muted background, somewhat bouquet background, and it had the colors almost the way I wanted to have it. So I thought this might be a nice background to try my best. To create these string pours, after all, I first needed to put some strings in the shape that I wanted. So I just cut some strings, put them into color, and that is basically everything you need to do. Put them into the color. You of course can also use multiple colors on one string to achieve a somewhat colorful effect within one of these flowers, but as this was the first attempt, I just wanted to stay plain and just used one color per string. When the string was soaked with paint, I just put it onto the canvas, and for this I made a loop, and then I slowly pulled the loop together so that the string itself is moving towards the middle, and this creates the effect that I was looking for. If you pull the string too quickly, you will not get the effect, and the paint will basically run underneath the paint which is already on the canvas. If you pull the strings really slowly, the paint stays on top. You will of course move some of the paint that is already on the canvas along with your string. So just be careful to not make it flow over the string, and you will in a way ruin your effect that you were going for. So just pull your string really gently and then move it outwards of the canvas. and you will drag some of the paint that was on the canvas with you and just let it flow over the edge. And I did this a couple of times with the very same technique, just to experiment and see what happens, and some colors worked better, some worked not so good. So the golden color, for example, was a bit muted and not as vibrant as I hoped to. The green was somewhat experiment to make it look like there are some leaves and such. The white was really cool, but did not really want to have too much of the white into it because it might have looked strange. So I mixed the colors to have a somewhat flower bouquet or something. Yeah, it was just an experiment and I wanted to play around. So what do you think? Do you like the result so far? When I was about to call it done, I just put it aside and had, as usual, some paint left. And what I usually do, as I do not want to waste any paint, I just grabbed some smaller canvases, as it was only enough paint for 2 smaller ones or 1 larger one. But I went for the smaller ones and want to make some kind of flip cup. Because I do not have so much of the green pours after all, this might have been my chance to get some green pours. As I had some paint dripped off from the first artwork, I just scraped it together and poured it over the canvases that I'm going to use for my flip cup pours. And this I just did to have a somewhat base layer that the paint can flow around. And for this, in a way, it doesn't really matter which kind of color it is. So this is an ugly grayish color, which no one wants to have on an artwork. But as a base layer, it is totally fine. So you will not see it in the end after all. Then put the cups under it, mixed my paints, flipped the cups, moved the paint around. You know the drill. And this is the result, which I really liked. Perhaps even better than the large artwork. What do you think about it? I think they turned out really cute, and I will show you the results of it in the very end, which is going to be now because I've read it until the next day, cleaned it from the silicone, varnished it, and here we go. And here we are with the final result show off. These ones are completely dry and I've already varnished them, so they are glossy and shiny, which you might be able to see. Yeah, you can. And this is the end result. I probably will be hanging this way, which doesn't fit in the video frame, so I'll show it this way. It is not my most favorite color palette after all. It is a bit too dark for my flat, but in a way I like the end result. So I don't think it's not pretty. Feel free to leave your comment what you think about it, if you like it, if you think the color palette was not the best choice. I wouldn't cry all day if I put something over it. But if you decide to like it, I will just keep it and put it on Etsy if someone wants to adopt it. A bit more pretty and more proud I'm of the smaller ones, which are these here. They are kind of pretty. Most of the times my green pours come out when I put yellow and blue together, so I don't really use green that often. But they look in a way kind of pretty. And probably in the videos they do not look as pretty as they are in real life. I have added some glitter to both of them, some gold glitter, which you might see when I tilt it a bit. It's some regular glitter and some glitter flakes, which is a bit longer glitter something, but these ones you might not be able to see, I'm not sure. So that's the result. This string method is something really interesting to try. I might try this again on another painting with a bit less structured background perhaps. I will see. It was worth the trying after all, and I hope you liked watching. I hope you liked the results, this one or these ones. And as usual, if you have any questions, recommendations or color palette wishes, please leave me in a comment below. If you're new to my channel, you know the drill. Please subscribe if you liked what you've seen, and I would love to see you in my next videos. So, until very soon, have a great day. Bye bye.